for right now, for me, I've really been trying to take better care of my plants. I'm like, this is what's keeping me going. It's like, oh, I can, do more cuttings or learn a new hobby. Welcome to Unpacking the Closet. I'm Jerry.
And I'm Caitlin. We're getting into a new chapter filled with laughter, ritual, and queer culture celebrations.
Because though surviving is essential, so is playing, celebrating, and lighting up our own worlds.
This episode is kind of our new intro episode. We're going to be talking about our rebrand a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when we started unpacking the closet, it was very much about, we wanted to talk about like the truth, identity, pain, the mess of becoming who we are, things like that. We both were feeling very, what would the right word be?
Felt overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed is a good way to put it.
I think like the world just feels really heavy right now. There's a lot of things that are going on, and I think we decided to pivot to things that felt a little bit more joyful, that felt a little bit more like celebratory, because I know, for everyone, but in particular for queer folks right now, it's been a really difficult time. And so there are so many things to say about all of what's going on. And it's important that we also emphasize that we deserve to feel good.
Mm-hmm.
Even when things feel kind of dim.
Yeah. And I think it's important for all of us to remember that even though there are so many serious things happening, that does not mean that you can't find happiness and joy during that. And you always read back to you always read back to when major events like this have happened in history. And one of the things that they talk about the most, that people really remember the most, are the people who were able to still spread love and joy and happiness and do their little tiny parts in their community to make it better while everybody was going through it, right? Those are the people and the like instances that really stick with everybody after that's over. So I think we wanted to be more of a sounding board for joy and happiness rather than like maybe another podcast that was bringing you down or like making you feel like everything was so heavy.
Absolutely. Because we're not leaving behind the deep stuff.
No.
I think we've done a lot to acknowledge, the rhetoric, the things that are being said, the historical oppression that we have as a community been through. And we don't want to leave that behind or cover it up. But we also want to balance that in our lives and on this podcast with laughter and connection. And so that's, I think, where we're kind of headed into what's coming this season, with some Halloween.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Episodes.
Some pagan, witchy Halloween things. Yes. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited for like DIY crafting stuff, and, talking about like fun TV characters that maybe give us a little hope and some joy.
Still got some history in there. We're still going to be talking about like LGBT history and resistance history, but from the perspective of joy, from the perspective of like, how did they do it while celebrating, and how that's almost more effective, right? A lot of times I was listening. It's actually so funny that we're like deciding to do this pivot right now, because one of my favorite podcasts, if none of you have heard of it, oh my gosh, please go. It's seriously, if I had to just choose one podcast besides ours to listen to for the rest of my life, I would listen to this one. It's called Ologies by Allie Ward. Amazing.
I haven't heard it.
Oh, I love her so much. She talks about anything and everything. If she can make it into an ology, if she can put ology at the end of it, she will. Sometimes she makes up the word because there's no official ology for it. But it just happens that as of recording this episode right now, they just released a whole episode about resistance and with a professional who studies like revolutions and things like that. And it was so interesting because they actually talked on that episode about the fact that there is a lot of research to suggest that fighting with joy, with celebration, is actually just as effective, if not more effective, longevity wise, than fighting with anger and like anything like that with hate. And I just thought, like, how funny that like that's the episode that they just put out, and you and I are literally about to record this, and that was the pivot we were taking. I was like, that's so like, I don't know, the universe, you know?
I love that. I mean, because it is
Yeah.
true. I think there's something to be said of, like we're doing for this season, which is joy as resistance.
Hmm.
Because we can't stop living our lives just because things are not the way we'd like them to be. And I think
Yeah.
there's always the small things that sometimes make the biggest impact, and sometimes even the big things like celebrating marriages or
Yeah.
different aspects of life that are so can be so exciting even in hard times.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we're hoping, I mean, this is going to be kind of a shorter episode for us because it's just our new intro to the season, but I think you can definitely expect to feel still seen, right? Still heard, still hopefully like you've walked away learning something, but more celebrated. And I love the the word that we used here, sparkly. More celebrated and sparkly, and hopefully maybe with a little bit more motivation, or what's the right word? A little bit more hope. Maybe we will help put a little bit more hope into your day. That would make me feel better. I think if recording this with you and in editing everything and having everybody listen to it, if it can give you and I a little bit more hope in our days, and if it can give our listener a little bit more hope, I think that will make me feel like we've really done our job here.
I love that. I completely agree. And I think, creating hope is how we keep going. Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, I was just thinking about what are little things that I do that try to help me keep the joy.
Hmm.
For right now, for me, I've really been trying to take better care of my plants. I'm like, this is what's keeping me going. It's like, oh, I can, do more cuttings or learn a new hobby. Or for me, kind of the winter time. Well, we're in fall technically, but we're kind of heading into that fall, almost winter kind of
Hmm.
vibe. And fall and winter for me are kind of time to reevaluate and kind of sit down and do like cozy tasks, or like
Hmm.
I'm more into having people over for dinner and kind of feeling more like not necessarily homey, but maybe more like celebratory and trying to like get people together and build like a tighter community during these types of time of the year. So I'm thinking about like I don't know, like the holidays coming up and like things I can do for friends and how to show up better for people too in this time of the year.
Yeah,
So,
which will also be something we're talking about. We really wanted to make sure with the holidays coming out that we acknowledge those in different ways. And
mhm.
so, around the same time as Thanksgiving, we'll have an episode about chosen family and the friends who like become our family and things like that. So, definitely a topic we'll be talking about. I agree. I've been, I think, reading more, trying to put my phone down more.
Mhm. Staying off
Um,
the phone's a hard one.
Staying
Yeah.
off the phone is really hard. Yeah, especially with everything happening, but it's too much to bombard yourself, all day with. So,
Mhm.
reminding myself that like, yes, we have to stay connected, we have to know what's happening, but that doesn't mean that it needs to consume our entire day. Giving yourself a little bit of time to be like, okay, what has happened? I need to stay informed, but then also giving yourself the time to like, okay, let's do something to relax my mind now. What's, like you said, maybe I start a new hobby, I read a book I've been wanting to read. I'm focusing on building my new career,
Mhm.
like, okay, I'm going to take some time, and build my website or do something because that brings me joy too. Like there's so many different things that can bring you joy and make you feel accomplished, like you've done something. That's I think really important to throw into your day. So that's what I've been doing a lot of.
I love that. I do
Yeah.
feel like the fall winter time is that of renewal, and we'll definitely get more into that
Mhm.
in future episodes too. But with that, I think there's always time to reinvent yourself. Something really big for me is that reinvention and recreation versus like I think people talk a lot about like self-discovery, and I like to
Mhm.
think of it as more of like self-creation. And I
Mm.
think this is like the time where we can kind of be reflective and turn inward and kind of be like, okay, where do I want to go from here? Because just
Yeah.
speaking about like careers and stuff too, I've been also contemplating like, okay, what other things do I want to do? Like I've been doing therapy, I've done social work for so long, but like what realm do I want to show up more in my life that isn't just that
Yeah.
too, and kind of re-examining that and figuring out, okay, well, what other parts of me do I not typically touch that I want to kind of like feel more into and see where that lands. And I think that can be very exciting, and I don't know, see where it goes.
Yeah, I mean that is kind of one it's funny to say like positive outcome of the current climate right now,
Mhm.
but in a way when everything is kind of going to shit, right? And everything's on fire, no one can find jobs and there's all these things that you could talk
Mhm.
about in a negative way, but in a
Mhm.
way that also allows you to think like, well, what have I then been putting aside because of societal expectations or because I felt like I had to
Mhm.
that maybe that doesn't matter anymore. Maybe you can think to yourself, like, you know what? I actually have always really been interested in this thing and fuck it. Like, why not now? You know what I mean? Everything else
Yep.
is going crazy. Why not just do the thing that you want to do? Make yourself happy. Give yourself that time. I'm working right now on getting keynote speaking up. I'm working on a presentation, and the whole presentation is tying together all these things that I thought I would never tie together, all these degrees that I have because I couldn't decide what I wanted to do in college. And it's going to be called Rewilding the Self. And that's essentially the whole main point, main message of the keynote is like, ecosystems all over the earth need biodiversity in order to survive, right? Not everything can be the same. Otherwise,
Mhm.
nothing would happen. It would just eventually fade out. You need things to evolve and be different. You need to have different mutations throughout the genes and stuff. And anyway, and how that applies to us as humans. And, we right now all feel like we have to pave this same path because that's what society has told us to do. But especially in a time right now, this is your time to think like, well, what makes me unique and what do I really love? And embrace that in yourself, like rewild yourself. Think
Absolutely.
outside. Yeah.
That's fantastic. I'm actually working
Yeah.
on a workbook right now called Growing Wild, which is about identity. Yeah, which is
I love it.
about like this recreation, like this
No one's gonna
creation of
believe that we have
identity.
not talked
I
about
know
this
that we have
before.
not talked about this, but like it's the
That is so funny.
it's really on par with exactly what I was looking at.
Oh
Too,
my
yeah,
gosh.
because I think there's something to the just the idea of being able to grow in ways that we didn't typically think about,
Mhm.
and
Or we're told that we
yeah,
couldn't.
yeah, because we weren't allowed to, which is what we
Mhm.
talked about previously, but also like how do we do that? Like how do we explore that? And I didn't think about it in terms of biodiversity, but that's a really good point too.
Yeah, yeah. So that's so funny. Well,
Great minds think alike. It's
there's a
this is when you
there's a
surround
reason.
yourself with good people that are on
I
the
know, right?
same wavelength.
Like so weird. I was just doing this whole thing about wilding, and you're like, me too. So funny.
Somehow I'm not surprised.
No, I'm not. I'm not either. That's so funny. Yeah, so see, there you go. So that's I already, even just this intro episode, even just us brainstorming to come up with this new season, I feel like felt more lighthearted, felt more fun. We were back to like when we first came up with the idea for the podcast, and we were like so excited and laughing and like coming up with all these ideas, and it
Absolutely.
was like, you know, no problem, you know. So I'm really excited to share this season with you guys. I really think it's going to be fun. I really think it'll be not an escape. I don't want it to be an escape. I want it to be an addition, I think is a better way to think about it. Like, I want this to be an addition to your day that helps you in some way, motivate you, give you hope, give you joy, whatever it is, whatever you need for that day. Hopefully, that's what we can provide.
I love that. I
Yeah.
think it really is about like creating the hope, and you know, I again with the self-creation, like we have to create these spaces where you can
Yeah.
have that, and hopefully that's what we do.
Yeah, exciting.
Yeah.
We said this in the first season, but we really want to make sure that we're like doing this together. We want to build a community. We want to hear your guys' thoughts. Ask us your questions. We're talking about potentially seeing if we can't open up like a phone line so you guys could call in and leave us messages. They do that on Ologies. See, I'm just
I
saying.
love this.
Please help us build the joy together. Tag us in posts that you think are relevant. Tell us about your own queer rituals, your own favorite characters, stories of your own chosen family celebrations, like everything. Join us on Patreon. We now have a YouTube channel, so this will also be on YouTube. You'll be able to actually see our
Yay.
faces. Follow us on all the socials, all the things.
Join us in all the things. Because queer joy isn't just ours, it's collective. Keep showing up even when it's messy.
We'll see you next time.